All right, so when it comes to anti-claw orthosis, the question really is who would benefit from an anti-claw orthosis, right? So usually anti-claw orthosis are really known for people who have an ulnar nerve issue, right? An ulnar nerve issue where MP goes into hyperextension and then IPs go into flexion. And they usually have really good passive range of motion, but they can't maintain. So they're gonna go into an anti-claw, oh my goodness, anti-claw, oh my God, your hands are so small. Anti-claw orthosis so that it could help maintain MP flexion and promote IP extension. So this is an anti-claw orthosis. So if you think about the purpose of an anti-claw, which is to stop hyperextension of your MP and allow flexion of your MP, but also flexion and extension of your IPs, who else could benefit from this type of orthosis? Currently we have a guy with a small finger injury that he has great passive range of motion, but he keeps going into hyperextension as MP, and therefore he keeps going into more and more flexion of his PIP and DIP. So he gets great passive range of motion, he just actively can't get PIP. So what happens is in his attempt to get active, he goes into hyperextension. Once he goes into hyperextension of MP, then it promotes flexion of the IP. So there's a couple of things that you could do. We could make a relative motion orthosis, right? Which potentially could stop him from going into hyperextension, right? Or we can make an anti-claw. And really at the end of the day, it comes down to what's going to be most beneficial and most comfortable for him. Something like this or something that goes across. So the way we're going to do it is we're going to check. We decided that this, because he has so much motion, that he actually can go into extension still and not get enough extension here. So that's why we're trying to use an anti-claw orthosis, not just to stop the MP from going into extension, but holding it down enough to get isolated PIP extension. So if you know the purpose of an anti-claw orthosis, you know what it's supposed to do, you can figure out who you need to put it on and why they would benefit from this type of orthosis over any other orthosis, right? So that's the why to. And were there any other questions? Okay, so we covered materials. You can use kind of almost any material, but materials that have a little bit more memory can help you over materials that don't have memory. You don't want anything really gummy, because if you stretch it or you mess up, you can't really fix it. So anything with a little bit more memory, Aquaplast, Orthofit, even Taylor Splint has some memory, so that's still a really good orthosis material to use. And how do you get better leverage? Just get them to relax. Like, I think when you're making the orthosis, getting someone to relax gives you better.
Like if you're too high.
Yeah, if your bar is too high, like this doesn't fit my hand. If your bar is too high, it's not going to give you enough leverage. It needs to be essentially right below the distal palmar crease where it's going to sit. It's got to be right below. Otherwise, it's going to be up here and it's going to dig into the MP, into the pulley system, right? All right, so that's it. I think that should help you get started with anti-claw orthosis.